What's up, Kanyo kids? I bet all of you are itching to travel. It's been almost 2 years since the pandemic started. A lot of us have only gone on domestic travel. Japan is probably one of the places I would hit first. Unfortunately, they are not allowing tourists or any exemptions at the moment. However, one country actually did announce that it's finally allowing tourists to enter its country. Thailand. Thailand is the first country in Southeast Asia to open its borders to tourists without quarantine. This is because Thailand has been very aggressive with their vaccination program. They have 3 different travel schemes depending on your vaccination status and where you're coming from. This will of course affect your quarantine and your COVID-19 testing. The first one is called Test and Go, which is literally what you do. You take the PCR test upon arrival, wait for 24 hours in a hotel, and then you go. The Test and Go is applicable for anyone who's been fully vaccinated and coming from one of the 63 approved countries in the last 21 days. The second one is called the Sandbox program, in which case you have to stay at a hotel for 7 days, and apart from the arrival test, you also have to take a second PCR test on your last night. The Sandbox program is applicable for anyone who's been fully vaccinated and might not necessarily have come from one of the 63 approved countries. Now, the last one is actually the most restrictive, the alternative quarantine program. In this case, it's because you're not coming from any one of the 63 approved countries and you're also not fully vaccinated. So you have to stay in a hotel for 10 days and take your second PCR test on your 8th or 9th day. Here's the list of the 63 approved countries as of November 1, 2021. If you are coming from any one of these countries and have been there for at least 21 days prior to coming to Thailand, then you qualify for the travel exemption or the Test and Go scheme. Here's the list of all the approved COVID-19 vaccine brands. Of course, you've got Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca, J&J, Sinovac, and this other one called Covilo. Oh, and Sputnik. Now that we've got the quarantine and testing down, what do you actually need to bring with you? What are the forms that you have to fill up? The first is obviously your passport. Second, a visa, if required. Passport holders of ASEAN or Southeast Asian countries are welcome in Thailand without a visa. Next, you need a printed certificate of entry or the Thailand Pass QR code. You can find the links to these forms in the description below. Next, you need a negative RT-PCR test within 72 hours of your scheduled departure or flight. Thai nationals are exempted from this, but it would also mean that they fall under the alternate quarantine program, which means they have to spend 10 days in a hotel. So if I were you, I would still do the test anyway. Next, you need your certificate of vaccination. So in the Philippines, it would be the VaxCert PH. But if you received your vaccination in some other country, then it would have to be the official vaccine card or vaccine record of that country. So what if you've had COVID-19 in the past? You can also still be considered or exempted from the full vaccination requirement if you've had COVID-19 and received at least 1 dose of the COVID-19 vaccine 3 months after your infection. But it needs to be done at least 14 days before coming to Thailand for it to kick in. Next, you need the receipt or the proof of payment for your hotel quarantine, which also includes the payment for your RT-PCR test. So once again, the hotel quarantine needs to have been booked and paid in advance. And also, this hotel quarantine can't be more than 2 hours from the airport. If you are not a Thai national, then you need insurance covering minimum 50,000 US dollars. Now for the Philippines specifically, you also need to fill up a few other forms. First, you have the Philippine Bureau of Immigration Declaration, registration to PALS passenger contact tracing forms. All passengers must register to the PAL passenger information form as early as 24 hours before their flight. A separate form shall be filled out by passengers whose COVID-19 test will be taken with any of PAL's partner laboratories. Please register to PAL Laboratory Partner ECIF as early as 5 days prior to your departure. So Thailand has a variety of accredited quarantine hotels, and they've been marked as either SHA or AQ. Safety and Health Administration is actually a certification that the Tourism Authority of Thailand gives to hotels once they've met specific requirements or standards. Hotels that have an SHA plus means that at least 70% of their staff have been fully vaccinated, and those that aren't fully vaccinated don't come in contact with any of the guests. Other types of hotels are called AQ or alternative quarantine hotels. So I guess these are for travelers who are not fully vaccinated, or maybe Thai nationals that opted not to take the pre-departure COVID-19 test. It means they're a bit more high risk. And there you have it. So Thailand is definitely a prime spot for your vacation in the next few months. That is if Omicron doesn't ruin things for us. Anyway, I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you guys are interested in more travel updates during COVID, hit that bell icon to stay notified of any new videos. Thanks for watching. Remember, stay classy and sassy.